All right, I just hit record.
Wait a second. Let me grab coffee.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We have an exciting guest today. We're going to talk a little bit about the hospitality industry. And Em, I know that you are old friends with our guest, Anna Stancioff. So I will let you do the introduction.
Yeah, and also way to pronounce her last name, Jenna.
I was thinking the same thing.
I'm particularly excited to talk about this industry because I love it. We love to live it. We love to travel. We love hospitality, restaurants, spa experience, all the things that go into visiting an awesome resort, hotel, or destination. Anna, to me, has this amazing presence, just of total calm. She's just bang up smart. She's Bulgarian as well. So I personally found that to be very travel appropriate. We met at Hawkins International PR in a little Chelsea office in New York City. So as I go through her bio, you will see she's been in-house, she's been at agencies, but also she's a mom. She's a family gal. So Anna, in addition to being a mom of two, living in Brooklyn, New York, she's launched over 100 new hotels and shaped their brand perception right at the get. She's been in-house at Sage Hospitality Group. She did a lot of executive thought leadership, corp comms for the C-suite. There she managed over 60 hotels and 40 restaurants, over 20 agency partners. Let's take a deep breath because that is like fascinating to me as well. Last, I think, laid eyes on each other when she was the director of PR at Ennismore, a London-based group known for fab hotels, the Hoxton brand in particular. And she's just had a ton of success. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much. What a lovely introduction, Emily. I feel like you could do that every day and make my whole life brighter. Thank you for that. I'm honored to be here. It's such a treat. And thank you again for that nice introduction, for inviting me to join.
So you're phoning in from Brooklyn. Can you talk to us a little bit just about your travel journey?
My first role was with Orient Express. And I started right after college. I knew I liked to travel. We all like to travel, right? Who doesn't like to travel? That said, I'm a pretty adventurous traveler. I come from a family that loves to travel. I've family internationally, so we were not afraid to fly to a new place, to try out new foods, that kind of thing. My first job with Orient Express was fantastic. I started in September, and in October, I was leading a press trip to Botswana and South Africa. Okay. I was on safari on my very first press trip a month into the job. I mean, I was like, I'm never going to leave this job. We do not need to get into the details about the pay or the benefits or what the office life was like, because the glamorous side of it was glamorous and it was fantastic. So I fell pretty hard for that part of it. And, it was challenging because I was trying to wrap my head around places and things that I had never been to. I worked with one of my first clients soon after that was the Rio Convention and Visitors Bureau. I had never been to Rio. So the idea of pitching a country that I'd never traveled to, a city that I had never traveled to, speaking to the client who speaks English as a second language, there were many, many moments where I questioned whether this was worth the effort that I was putting into it. But when I got to meet these people in real life, when I got to off the plane and finally saw these destinations, stayed in these hotels, I felt pretty hard. Orient Express really set the tone, and I haven't left travel since. I worked at a large agency, I worked at a mid-size agency, and then went in-house with Ennismore, as you mentioned, opening all their U.S. hotels and doing the global PR for the brand. I then went to Sage Hospitality, which is a management company based in Denver. And I've done a lot of consulting in between. But really, it's covered hotels, spas, airlines, travel, guidebooks, travel websites, cruise ships, destinations, private clubs, restaurants, bars, co-working spaces. The whole hospitality is a huge umbrella, and it covers a lot of different things. There are dentists who call themselves that say they're in the hospitality industry, right? So hospitality means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And yeah, I'm proud to work in it. I find it to be a really exciting, really dynamic industry. But I've honed now my experience to be more hotels, resorts. But I still really love traveling, and I still love talking to people about travel. So that part has not waned at all over my years.
Yeah, it comes through, Anna. And I think that's the thing. It's so authentic to you. And your love for it is clearly there. When I listen to you talk about your experience, Anna, I do wonder, why is there no Anna Stancioff PR specializing in
Oh,
hospitality?
I do not need to have my own agency. Thank you. That I've seen agencies that agency founders build their business. I've been part of it. It's been a joy to support some of these founders, many of which were women that I'm still admire, that I'm still in touch with, that I'm still great friends with. I know I don't want my name on the door. I know I don't want to do that kind of work. The consulting work I do now is working with smaller clients. So, for example, I work with a winery in Sonoma. I work with a hotel in New England. I work with a private island in the Caribbean. These are hotels and resorts and destinations that can't afford a big agency, but I get to work with the leaders, in some cases, many cases, the owners, the folks who created it from the ground up. And I enjoy that because I like getting my hands dirty. I can really dig into, hey, let's open the books. Show me, why aren't we booking on the weekends in July? Okay. Oh, we see the trend of how people are booking, and then I can adjust my strategy accordingly. When I was at agencies, as much as I loved them, I did find there to be a little bit of a barrier in terms of connecting with the client and getting the information that really informed the strategy. I would present these ideas that I thought were fantastic. Hey, here's a really cool idea. We're going to have this amazing event on a Saturday. And they're like, yeah, we're booked on Saturday. We don't need your help at all there. Well, how would I know that? I don't have access to
God.
that information.
Yeah.
Um, but when I work through consulting, I feel like I've been able to get a better handle on the business side of things. And that means how people are booking travel, when, who they are, what the patterns are in terms of what the most popular dishes are on the menu. Why is the burger not selling? And sitting down with the chef and saying, okay, maybe it's priced a little too high. Why is this steak selling and not the burger? So that kind of access, I find, has been really, really exciting to me and really empowering.
Sounds like consulting is really, it feels like a sweet spot for you. And we always talk about where you can have the most impact. You've been on the agency side. You've also been in-house though. And I would imagine being in-house can also feel quite impactful because you intimately know everything. Can you talk a little bit about kind of where your favorite spot is? Is it the consulting or one of the others?
So my favorite spot is the brands I work with. Okay. That's a very hard one to say. If I could work in-house with the hotels that I work with right now, I would. I adore them. They're spectacular people. They're spectacular stories. I feel so wholeheartedly supportive of what they're building that, yes, I would be in-house. These hotels, one of them has 18 rooms. They don't need an in-house PR person, right? They don't have a big brand. So that's why I consider myself to be part of, I know the general manager, I know the owners, I know the chef. I can play that role of an in-house PR person, but they certainly don't have the salary or the interest to hire me as a full-time PR person in-house. That's fine. But I will say, like, working in-house was extremely challenging in many ways, but I learned so much. That's where I really learned where the revenue management team, what role they play in managing pricing for a hotel. I learned about digital marketing. I learned about newsletter marketing, who is clicking through on the newsletter to book this weekend's, I don't know, Mother's Day brunch. So there were I had access when I was in-house that I didn't have before, that was really, really insightful. And now I'm trying to bring that, almost as if I'm an in-house person, to my consulting clients.
That makes
That-
sense. Yeah.
It's a total sweet spot, Anna. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I did. I
oh,
think that the story, yeah, I'm pretty picky about who I work with because I my job is easy when I work with clients that I like. It's a joy. It's like, I'm like, I want to tell you about my clients, even though you're not writing stories, right? That's because I love working with them and I feel passionate about the products that they've built. But what I've found, and I'm sure we've all had this experience, is that sometimes you work on a client that you just don't connect with. And that's a real challenge. It comes across, you can hear it in my voice, you can read it through in the tone of my emails, and you can tell, I can feel it. I'm sure the journalists on the other end of the pitch, on the other end of the conversations, can feel it. And that's how I try. That's sort of the North Star of my business, which is like, do I feel passionate about this? Would I take on this client right now because I'm excited to tell people about it? I want to text my friend at Travel and Leisure about it, like before I even get off the call. That's a good sign to me. So that drives the business. It's not 100%. It's not the easiest business to build, but it's the most rewarding business to build, and it allows me to get excited when my clients are like, oh, I don't know, one of my clients just started doing harvesting honey and they brought bees in. I'm like, I think that's really fascinating. I want to learn about that. So I'm asking all these questions. I want to see pictures, send me the video. That's what I'm seeking, right? Is being excited when they have a development like that, as opposed to, hey, we have, I don't know, for maybe a clothing brand. Oh, we have a new t-shirt. I don't care. It's less interesting to me. It just wouldn't resonate. I wouldn't be as good at my job.
Well, the teacher becomes the student in your case when it's something like the bees or something that just sets your heart alight. And I think that's so special. And it's the magic of being able to operate your own business and decide who you're partnering with. But you said something in there that I think offers a good segue to hospitality storytelling. And not to date you or us, Anna, but you've been doing this since the early 2000s. And it is now 2026, and so much has changed on the landscape. I had looked through my clipbooks from my New York days, and there are these beautiful magazine stories that, right? Like most of those don't exist anymore. So talk to us a little bit about how this landscape has shifted in 25 years.
There's two answers to that question. The first one is about how much the media landscape has changed, because obviously that defines our role, right? The way people are getting information has changed dramatically, not just 20 years ago, but 5 years ago. So there are a lot more outlets if you consider TikTok and Instagram influencers, even Substack, if you consider these new ways of getting information. There are fewer of the traditional print and traditional media, as they say. There are fewer options there that are covering travel. So in that sense, that's changed quite a bit. Seeing an influencer video the lobby of my hotel, and the lights are down, and you can't really see what's going on, and there's somebody walks in front of the camera, and I'm thinking, this is a debacle. I'm so used to everything being polished and beautiful, and my photos of this lobby are gorgeous, and there's this food is prepared, look at the plate, it's gorgeous, and look at they have the drink with the little garnish perfectly done, and they show their drink and there's no garnish, but the music's blaring, but then it drives people there. So my expectations have had to shift accordingly, right? The way people are getting information has changed. Their expectations from Travel and Leisure or Town and Country or the New York Times are one thing. Their expectations from an influencer may be something different, and they both can provide a lot of value. But I need to manage my expectations. I was used to having a lot more control over what the images looked like, what the storylines were, and I've had to adjust that a little bit. On the other side, which is like how travel has changed, so many more people are traveling now. The number of people, Americans who have passports has increased. The number of Americans, airline prices have gone down. In the big picture, there's more airlift to more destinations. There's more of an expectation that people are going to travel during their vacations. It used to be, we go to the beach for the long weekend. Maybe we go to visit our grandparents. Maybe we all pile in the car and take one big trip to Disney World or to see some family. Now it's like, I'm going to go to Paris for a long weekend. I'm going to take a overnight train trip through the mountains. I mean, people are doing much more adventurous travel than they once were. That has been exciting and a really positive part of my industry, seeing people's worlds open up, seeing them expand their views of what vacation can be, of how far their money can go, seeing people just be a little bit more adventurous in terms of how to spend their time and money when it comes to travel. That has been part of the experience economy, which is, moving more towards experiences over consumer goods, and that has been a plus for the travel industry, and ultimately something that's growing every single day.
And we were recently doing some research, and actually most of what you just said was bubbling up, right? That people are foregoing certain everyday little pleasures, ordering out, going out to restaurants, things like that, so that they can save money for travel because it has become so important. And also the idea of this adventure travel and people really not wanting to just go sit at a beach, but do things, whether it's like ziplining or snorkeling or whatever it might be, which I think is amazing overall for the industry. But I am curious, that creates a lot more competition and pressure. And I'm wondering if the brands you've worked with have had to shift their model at all to offer more experiences or speak to that consumer in a different way.
The short answer is yes. Absolutely, they've had to shift. A hotel is a static thing, right? It's real estate that stays. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is very hard to adapt to changing times for a hotel because it is really the expectations for a hotel is that it's going to be there. I'm going to get a good night's sleep. So for them to say we're offering experiences now can be a difficult bridge for a hotel owner or a hotel GM or hotel brand. It's a difficult bridge for them to cross. But more and more hotels are doing it. And in some cases, very successfully. They're offering thoughtful ways to connect with the community. Sometimes it's as simple as having new items on their menu that are reflective of the destination. In some cases, it's a matter of, okay, we can, we're a business hotel, and we're right on the river, but now we're offering boat trips out into the river. And that has never been on offer before, but people get to see the city from a new lens. And it's not even always a revenue driver, but it's a great way to market the hotel. The challenge with travel is that you've got the whole world as your competition, right? I know I want to go to Denver. I'm looking at these hotels, and suddenly I'm saying, oh wait, maybe actually I'll go to Jackson instead, right? You're not just competing with the hotels in Denver, you're also competing with the hotels in Jackson. Maybe even you're competing with Los Angeles because whoops, there's a cheaper flight to LA for me from New York than there is to Denver. So you really, the fight to stay relevant for a hotel, the fight to stay enticing and sort of dynamic is a really huge one for hotels. And that's where I've found PR to be the most valuable. A good PR partner, a good PR agency, or in-house person will approach the hotel and say, listen, we can't just be welcoming the same 10 business travelers every week. We have to think creatively about how we can bring in a new audience, how we can invite family travelers in. Maybe it's about inviting girlfriend getaways. What can we do to change our presidential suite into more of an Airbnb experience with brunch served so that a group of girls wants to spend time there? I worked with a hotel last year that did Love is Blind and Love Island watch parties. And
I love that.
Clever.
So fun.
Super creative, really cute, very low cost for them. But it was like, oh yeah, I don't have enough room necessarily to invite all my girlfriends over and watch. But they basically took their suite, they decked it out, they had drinks, they had snacks, and it was, you just rented it for the night and you got to binge your favorite show. So it's not about changing the product, because it's very hard to change a hotel with 100 or 200 rooms based on a trend like that. But you can adapt. And if you're nimble enough, you can create a new revenue stream. You can invite in a new guest, and hopefully those folks convert into long-term guests as well.
I remember a funny story from a GM I had on the road, desk sides in New York. And, I imagine throughout our history in hospitality, pet travel has bubbled and waned and bubbled and waned, and it still does. But I remember him and me on the fly just being like, let's say you have a pet spa at your spa. And lo and behold, we ended up getting WSJ takeoffs and landings for a product we didn't really have yet. But he was kind of like, we can totally do this, right?
Yeah.
Like, just do a couple jazzy things if anyone actually comes and wants to book their dog in a spa. But to your point, Anna, I think it's about being smart where culture is popping in a way that makes sense for that property or that destination or whatnot in a simple way. To me, hospitality strikes a bit clunky like CPG can be to keep up with these fast rolling times. We know some brands can certainly do it, and it's harder for others. Is there any campaign in hospitality at this point that either you are very proud of, something that you've done of late? The Love Island one is amazing. Or something out in the world that you've seen that you think is particularly cool?
Yeah, there's a hotel in Alexandria, Virginia, called the Morrison House. I worked with them last year in my role with Sage, and it's a smaller hotel. They have a small bar downstairs called the Parlor, which is lovely, or the Studio Study. Sorry, not the Parlor. That was lovely. It's very cozy, but it's not the buzziest spot in town. They came up with this idea to support the local libraries. And we were kind of brainstorming this. Oh, we have all these books on the walls. What can we do? Honestly, the idea, it took a while to come together, but when it did, it really caught fire. So they created a banned book speakeasy, essentially turned the bar into a pop-up where they serve drinks based on banned books. So there's a Handmaid's Tale book, there's a 1984 book, and with those books, they're served a cocktail that ties into it. And they donated the proceeds to the Virginia Library Association. It was, it's not the kind of thing that's on the cover of the New York Times. It's not taking over the world, but it made a huge impact for their local library. It made a huge impact within the community. People could not have been more excited. Brought in a lot of new guests who were locals who loved the library but had never been into this bar. And it was successful enough that they had a line of people waiting outside to get in and have drinks. So yes, it drove revenue, but it was also just like, it was a really feel-good moment for the community, and that was a win in and of itself. They even saw a library in Montana read about this banned book speakeasy in Virginia, and they implemented a similar activity at their library in Montana because they were inspired by what they were doing in Virginia. And so their local newspaper wrote about their banned book speakeasy that was raising money for libraries, and it was a feel-good moment. Like, look at this. Together we came up with an idea that helped support local libraries. So sometimes the biggest wins are not about getting on the cover of the Travel and Leisure or into the Wall Street Journal, but it's really about a moment where you are connecting with the people who are right outside your door. Again, hotels are static. Your neighbors are very, very important to you. Your community is very, very important to you. You need to have really good relationships with them. And also raising money for a cause that was really important to the hotel, that was supportive of the hotel. And it generated revenue, and it converted to new guests. Those are also wonderful things, but it was a win across all of those categories. So I was really proud of how the brainstorm, I worked with the local marketing manager, how it all came together. And again, I know it was in Alexandria Living. It's not the biggest news story, but it was in all the DC
Huge,
press.
though.
It was just like it was a big win because it generated revenue, generated foot traffic, and supported the local partners. So that's one that I'm excited
That's
about.
amazing, Anna. And I think, again, it's so true to who they are, right? And that community aspect, especially for hospitality, that is your first line of engagement and the people that will promote you further through word of mouth or anything. So
That's
that's
absolutely
actually
right.
genius. And the fact that imitation is the finest form of flattery there in Montana. Maybe you drove some some traffic
Yeah,
from the
that was
Midwest.
just sort of like the cherry on top. It's a good enough idea, that another library copied it. I thought that was wonderful. So yeah, sometimes the big PR wins are not as obvious as others. And I've certainly worked on campaigns that are in, where I'm getting the Travel and Leisure, Condé Nast Traveler, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. Those are extremely rewarding as well. But I will say working with smaller hotels, restaurants, bars, products, when you can see that impact firsthand has been the best part.
That's what I was going to say. It's all about the impact and what actually matters to them. And if it is driving traffic, or in this case, if it is, driving a charitable contribution to a local library, it's outlining and kind of identifying what is the impact that you want and then going for it wholeheartedly. And sometimes those big giant placements aren't going to create the impact you're looking for. So
That's right. That's exactly right. And this hotel has been in Travel and Leisure, and they will be again, right? It's a great hotel, but to have this win in this moment was just a 2-day activation, felt like a different kind of PR creative spin on something that we hadn't looked at much before. So it's not just the hotel room, it's not just the restaurant or the bar. It's about spinning it a little bit and putting together a really good story in the moment.
And back to just curious, you know how you said you have to right set your expectations when it comes to different verticals, especially influencer content and social media generally. Do you find your clients are able to subscribe as well? Are they finding a certain comfort level? Is it harder to sell them on that until they see the impact? How has that been in terms of the relationship with your clients?
Hmm. I like this question because it varies by client, and it's really, some clients really subscribe to social media as a driver and others do not. They've had bad experiences or they just don't see the value. But it is, I would say, one of the biggest challenges with travel is that there is not always a clear line between the story, or in this case maybe the reel or the post, and the booking. So if I'm purchasing some lipstick online and I see somebody says, I got this great lipstick. Hey, you guys, you should buy it too. And I add to cart, I click through from my phone and I purchase and it shows up at my house, whatever. That you can see a direct line from that reel to the purchase, and the brand, the lipstick brand, can track how many lipsticks we sold as a result. With travel, it's a lot more complicated. You can have a 5-page feature in Condé Nast Traveler, then you could have even like a wonderful full online story. You could have a TikTok that is just extolling the virtues of your fabulous hotel. People do not book travel the way they purchase lipstick. It requires asking for a PTO. It requires booking flights or renting a car. It requires some planning. So it's very, very difficult to track the consumer path from reading about it or seeing a video or engaging with it online to actually booking. That's one of the biggest challenges with travel. So a lot of my job is speaking to general managers, owners, hotels, restaurants, bars, to explain the value of awareness. In some cases, you can see conversion from a story to booking, but most often you can't. And it's about explaining to our hotels or our clients how this still provides value. So in the case of a social media influencer who's sharing photographs of their food and the food doesn't look as beautiful as I want it to look, I would still suggest that that's a win to my client, because in theory, we've vetted this person in advance. We've looked to see who their audience is. We've made sure that they're engaging. We've made sure that there's value in terms of how they're speaking about it. We've made sure that the influencer has the language about our restaurant. So there's still value there, but it may not be 100% exactly how we want it presented. And I think that my biggest challenge lately has been with Substack, because I really believe there's
Yeah,
potential in Substack in terms of
absolutely.
driving an audience, but it has been more
Just
difficult to
yourself.
to show that value. And because a lot of the Substack authors don't share their audience, or you don't know exactly how big their audience is. I think people are reading them. I'm reading them, but I have a hard time with some of the more traditional clients that don't know
Yeah,
what
that's
Substack
not where
is or
they're
don't.
getting their news.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a learning curve.
Yeah. And I think, when you're asking to host an individual visit, even for one night, that output for clients, they want to see something that's splashy in their eyes. But you're obviously thinking about it the right way, Anna. And of course that will come along just like social media has. It's newer for everyone. And as we know, travel for consumers is a highly emotional booking. So we need the surround sound to pull that trigger, as they say. But Anna, we have two more questions for you. One is about impact, and then one we just want a little shout out on where folks can find you.
Anna, we talked a lot about impact in what you do. And we always ask each other at the end of every pod, what's your impact? And it can be anything from this week. It can be on the professional side. It can be something with your family and your kids. It can be you booking your own travel. So if you look at the last week or so, what has your impact?
I love that you end the show with this. It was a real thought starter for me because we move through our lives so quickly, honestly, that we very rarely stop to think about this. I worked with a chef on a local broadcast segment, and honestly, it was fine. It was a small audience. He did great. He was talking about the new menu, and he was pretty nervous. He had not done broadcast before. Hearing him afterwards speak about the pride he took in that moment was the impact. Hearing him understand PR for the first time, engaging in PR for the really, he sometimes would reply to my emails, sometimes would, oh, for sure, fine, I'll get you that photograph. Okay, I have a kitchen to run, and I'm sympathetic. He has a long list of things to do. He has a lot of demanding people around him. But to hear his enthusiasm for PR, for his restaurant, for his menu after the segment ran, and to hear him talk about how proud he was to see himself on this local TV channel was the impact. So empowering him to speak about his brand, empowering him to be part of the PR process, and getting him excited to talk about what he's creating all day behind closed doors was really the moment for me.
I love
Well,
that.
now he's going to want more, Anna. You know that.
Yeah, I know. It's addictive.
It's
Totally.
a slippery slope.
That's where that's needed.
He's
That's
gonna be
awesome.
calling you. I love
That's
that.
an amazing one, Anna.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And then the last question is, where can folks find you for more information?
I'm on LinkedIn. And if you remember my last name, you will find me. There are only my last name, Stancioff, Stancioff. Anybody you find with that last name is a direct relative of mine, somebody I know. So it's part of the reason I kept my name when I got married.
Bulgarian roots.
You'll find me pretty easily with that. And yes, I'm always happy to talk about PR. I'm always happy to talk about travel. I have all my friends and family text me when they, what about the TSA lines this week? So I'm make hotel recommendations, happy to talk travel. It is just a joy in my life and something that I hope never goes away.
Gosh, it comes through.
All right, Anna. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was wonderful.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.